Good evening. I'd like to welcome all of you to the city council meeting of, believe it or not, October 1st. And call the meeting to order and ask for approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Hey, before we do anything else, I would like to have a couple moments of silence for two more community members that have left us. David Clyde and Dale Heinz. So if everyone could join me, please, in a moments of silence. Thank you. Okay, so then we need consent of the agenda. We did that. Now we need consideration of the minutes of the meetings.
Does anybody have any changes?
And
To approve the minutes of August 13th council meeting, the August 16th special meeting, and August 27th special meeting. Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilor Ogilvy?
Yes.
Council President McCarthy?
Yes.
Councilor Hayes?
Yes.
Mayor Knopf?
Yes. Okay, next we'll have public comment, and this is for anything other than the public hearing. If you would like to make public comment and are in the audience, I would like you to raise your hand. I'll acknowledge you. You come up to the podium, give your name and mailing address. Try to keep it kind and respectful and under 3 minutes. So is there anyone in the audience that would like to make public comment? Nobody? Okay. Is there anyone online that would like to make public comment? If you would raise your hand, please. Okay. One more time in the audience, nobody? Okay, great, thanks. Okay, so the first thing we have on the agenda is a proclamation, and it's proclamation 2413 proclaiming October 2024 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Cannon Beach. And Chief, can I handle that?
Yeah, give you a little background here. The Cannon Beach Police Department and the Harbor has requested that council adopt a proclamation to encourage all Cannon Beach residents to join in the observance of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. The Harbor, previously the Clatsop County Women's Resource Center, responds to thousands of crisis calls yearly and provides shelter bed nights for hundreds of women and children. The calls concern domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, and other issues. They provide services to all and have assisted Cannon Beach residents. Harbor statistics for 2024 for Clatsop County and surrounding areas. They received 1,410 hotline calls, provided 5,216 services. They served 455 clients and sheltered 60 individuals, assisted with 126 protective orders, and made 472 referrals to other county agencies, and facilitated 42 prevention activities. In Oregon, the statistics of who experiences domestic violence in their lifetime: more than 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men, nearly 2 in 5 transgender people, almost half of all American Indian, Alaska Native, and Black women, and 44% of lesbian women, and 61% of bisexual women experience domestic violence in their lifetime. Domestic violence is common in 1 in 4 women, 1 in 7 men, and up to half of transgender and non-binary individuals will experience intimate partner violence in their lifetime. Youth are also affected in high numbers. 1 in 3 teens will experience some sort of relationship abuse. And tragically in Oregon, 1 in 5 murders are related to domestic violence. We have Alexia Smith from the Harbor. I'd like to introduce her. If you'd like to say something, you're more than welcome to, but if you don't, that's okay.
I just thank you for, talking about this big issue. Thank you for allowing me to be here. This is my first city council meeting, so thank you very much. It means the world to myself and the agency that I work with. You're amplifying the voices of all of the survivors that we work with and really nailing down the importance of what we do and why we do it. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And staff recommends the council adopt the proclamation.
I'll move to adopt proclamation 2413. proclaiming October 2024 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Cannon Beach.
There a second?
Of course, second. Sorry, I was reading the proclamation.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Counselor Ogilvy,
Yes.
Council President McCarthy,
Yes.
Counselor Hayes,
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Were you getting ready to read the proclamation?
If you'd like me to, I would.
Thank you.
Right, for the purpose of proclaiming the month of October 2024 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, proclamation number 24-13. Whereas the first domestic violence month was observed in October 1987, the same year that saw the initiation of the first national domestic violence toll-free hotline, and in 1989, Congress designated October as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And whereas domestic violence is a pattern of assaultive, coercive behaviors, including physical, psychological, sexual, and economic abuse, social isolation, and stalking, that are used to maintain power and control over a person's intimate partner. And whereas the crime of domestic violence violates an individual's dignity, safety, and basic human rights, and whereas domestic violence is the single largest cause of injury and homicide for women, and whereas children exposed to domestic violence experience terror, isolation, guilt, helplessness, and grief, and have a higher risk of engaging in criminal behavior and substance abuse and becoming victims of crime. And whereas domestic violence impacts the health and well-being of our community, and whereas it is incumbent on every citizen to play a role in preventing and ending domestic violence, now therefore be it resolved that the Common Council of the City of Cannon Beach hereby adopts that October 2024 to be Domestic Violence Awareness Month in the City of Cannon Beach, and encourage all Cannon Beach residents to join in this observance. Passed by the Common Council of the City of Cannon Beach this first day of October 2024 by following roll call vote.
Okay, thank you, Brandon. Thank you,
Welcome.
Chief. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is an action item, the 12 Days Earth Day Event Handbook and Volunteer Waivers.
That's me. Switch my seats here.
We have a couple representatives from the Parks Committee.
Two representatives here and
Dustin there.
Anita's online there.
Great. Welcome, Anita. Welcome, Stacy, Les, and Trevor.
Yes. Good evening, council and mayor. Little background on this. At the March 2019, the Parks and Community Service Committee voted to propose to council that the 12 Days of Earth Day event become a city event, which falls under the Parks Committee. Since then, the event has grown and needed a revised structuring. The Parks and Community Service Committee has revised the handbook and the volunteer waiver to ensure city liability and forms are all up to date. This has all been reviewed and approved by the city attorney. Analysis and information. The goal of the committee has been to grow this event year over year and put greater focus on our commitment to the environment in honor of Earth Day. We have been successful in doing that since this has become a city event. This past year, we realized some small revisions needed to be made to continue to grow the event successfully and at the same time have effective city oversight. Staff and some of the committee members are here tonight to answer any questions council might have regarding the revision. Recommendation, staff recommends the council to adopt the 12 Days of Earth Day handbook and the required waivers for the Parks and Community Service Committee. And there's a motion there if you so do move. Any questions for us?
Well, it's a very thorough manual. As I was reading it, I tried to pretend like I had never heard of it or been involved in it. And I mean, it's very well organized where anybody could put on the event.
Yeah.
That was our hope,
Mhm.
that as this moves forward, that whoever happens to be on the Parks Committee at that time could follow and grow it too, expand it, change it. So the handbook will always be a work in progress.
Yeah.
I have a couple of suggestions. I was a little confused about what a community partner was. There wasn't any real definition about what a community partner was. It says in January, liaisons will recommend community partners to the Parks Committee based on the following criteria, but I don't know does that mean an organization? Does that mean a person? Can it be both? So just a
Well, so I
definition.
remember that particular section. We were thinking about the organizations that we wanted to invite to the street.
Okay,
I think in general, it could have been an organization we wanted to share a presentation for, so it probably is more organizations than individuals, but it's people that we want to be part of our celebration.
I think that needs to be put in there, like, January liaison, in January liaisons will recommend community partners, comma, persons or organizations or something that kind of gives you, because I had no idea exactly what you were talking about until I think I saw the application form, then I got some idea that organization, but yeah, that was the other thing. And the other question I had is on the communications, you talked about newspapers and media outlets. Are these the only 4 that you contact for?
Those were, well, I did communications this past year, and yes, those are the ones that I personally contacted to try to get the word out. It wasn't intended to be a limiting list by any means, but I wanted to provide some suggestions on places that had worked.
Yeah, because there's a lot of other places that,
Oh, there are.
Yeah.
One of the things that I learned very early was that our own not so much the city's website, but the one that the chamber maintains.
Mhm.
Gets picked up by a lot of other coastal oriented websites.
yeah,
It's out pretty fast if I can get the word in soon enough.
yeah, that's the whole thing.
It wasn't intended if there are more places that would be appropriate.
Yeah. There are a lot of Facebook places that you can, I do it for the library. And I've got 30 or 40 different outlets too.
We had done some posting on several different Facebook pages, and one of the things that we heard when we were doing this was that we needed probably to be careful to go through the city's website or Facebook page, and then it can be disseminated out of that to maintain a little bit of city oversight.
Correct.
And so that's the only Facebook page that I think you'll find listed there, but we actually have used several in the past.
Okay, good.
Anything specific you would like to see as far as that one?
I'd have to look at my list and kind of, there's others, but there's some others. Yeah, there's at least 4 or 5 community, just Cannon Beach alone, community Facebook websites that I use all the time that I can give you the list for. But yeah, there's at least 4 others that, yeah.
I think in the spirit of what we were trying to do, it would be good to include them because next year someone else may be trying to do it. And I was simply wanting to pass on the things I had learned.
So Nancy, do you think it'd be helpful at the beginning of that list to say this is not inclusive?
Yeah, I think that would,
Something like
that would be really a good idea. Yeah.
so that somebody that was doing it completely for the first time looked at it and thought, well, these are the only ones I can.
Well, yeah, and Facebook pages come and go and, things change over time, what we had available to us last year might not be available next year, or
Yeah, it might
not desirable anyway.
about assessing
Correct.
Yeah.
relevant
the-
Facebook pages.
The pages that I have, that I submit to, they've been there for years. So it's not something that,
No, and I'm not a Facebook.
yeah. So you might check toward the end of the year, maybe beginning of next year, the Gazette may not be around.
Mm.
So change. Everything, it always changes. Everything changes in media. So,
I'll put a question mark.
yeah.
Any other comments or questions?
I would move to approve the handbook and the required waivers for the 12 days of Earth Day for Parks and Community Services Committee with the amendments that we've suggested.
A second?
Okay, any further discussion? Roll call, please, Jen?
Counselor Hayes,
Yes.
Counselor Ogilvy,
Yes,
Council President McCarthy,
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
thank you.
Thank you.
Hard work and
Thanks so much.
continuing the tradition. Thank you.
Pretty fun.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have a public hearing. And this is application 2407. This is a public hearing regarding appeal of design review board denial of DR 2418 Tom Keljo. Did I pronounce that right? On behalf of Breakers Point Condo HOA to replace approximately 500 linear feet of wooden walkway with a concrete walkway. The subject lot is located between West Fifth Street and North Larch Street, tax lot 90000, map 51019A in a residential high-density R3 zone. The application will be reviewed against the criteria of municipal code chapter 17.70.080 through 1770.100 design review criteria. I'm going to open the public hearing and ask, does anyone object to the jurisdiction of the city council to hear this appeal at this time? Does any counselor believe he or she has a personal bias to declare? Does any counselor believe he or she has a conflict of interest? Has any counselor had any ex parte contacts or made a site visit?
Site visit.
Site visit?
Site visit?
Is there any additional correspondence? Okay, so I'd like to request the staff report.
Right. Good evening, Mayor, Council. We're taking a look at an appeal of Breakers Point application to the Design Review Board. At their August 15th meeting, the City of Cannon Beach Design Review Board rendered a decision to deny an application by Breakers Point condominiums to replace wooden walkways with concrete located at between West Fifth Street and North Larch Street. Breakers Point condominiums requested review of that decision. And at a meeting on September 10th, the council held a scope of review and elected to hold a de novo hearing. A little bit of a summary of the project. The proposed project is the replacement of approximately 500 lineal feet of existing wooden walkways with concrete walkways due to the age and condition of the existing walkways. Much of the wooden walkway is the original to the complex development in 1980 and was described by the applicant as being in a deteriorated and potentially unsafe condition. The Design Review Board found that the proposed materials were inconsistent with the village character. The applicant has provided a decent amount of documentation. They've taken a look at the landscape design criteria and have provided information to the council in terms of how they believe they're meeting those criteria. I can go through those. Otherwise, I'm sure you have had the opportunity to review those and I could just answer any questions you might have.
Anybody wanting to go through all of it?
I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
Thank you for offering.
Yeah, any questions? Okay, so I'm going to call for public testimony and state the appeal will be reviewed against the criteria of municipal code chapter 17.70.080 through 1770.100 design review criteria. The hearing will be held de novo. The primary pertinent criteria to be considered are noted in the staff reports. Testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed towards those criteria or other criteria in the comprehensive plan or municipal code which the person testifying believes to apply to the decision. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal based on that issue. In addition, failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues related to proposed conditions of approval will preclude an action for damages in circuit court. Persons who testify shall first receive recognition from the mayor, state their full name and mailing address, and if appearing in a representative capacity, identify whom they represent. Is there a presentation by the appellant?
Yes,
Okay,
my name is Tom Keldro, address P.O. Box 246, Cannon Beach, Oregon, 97110. Good evening, city council members and staff. I'm representing the Breakers Point Homeowners Association on our appeal of the Design Review Board decision to deny a request to replace 500 feet of existing wooden walkways with exposed aggregate walkways. The main concern of the Design Review Board seems to be that concrete walkways do not reflect the village character of Cannon Beach. We will address this and other concerns. Breakers Point has enlisted the services of Zan Fletcher and Shane Fletcher of Lewis Marie to assist us in preparing a presentation for this hearing. We appreciate your time tonight and will attempt to keep the presentation as concise as possible. And now I'd like to introduce Zan Fletcher.
thank you.
Hi,
Hi,
my full name is Nancy Fletcher and address is 5623 North Princeton Street in Portland, Oregon, 97203. Hello, council, mayor, Trevor. We've actually been brought into this project for there's multiple phases, and so we thought as that would be helpful to provide more evidence, for the council, to the design review. And so I'll go through kind of the primary points that for the design board's denial, and yeah, we have lots of information, I guess. So up on the screen, Trevor's got the areas that the new walkway would go. It's all the ones that are purple and red are right now are the existing wood walkways. Nothing is actually visible from, like, you have to be quite within the site for anything to be visible. And if we go to, let's see. So if we go to page 6, I think this is kind of addressing the idea of what it would look like and how we think it would fit in with the kind of the character of Cannon Beach, kind of the natural feel. We don't want to do anything. I think when people say you're replacing a wooden walkway with concrete, you automatically get this vision that it's going to be a sidewalk. And that is not our goal. The goal is to kind of fit in with the natural area and to, really reflect the character that you see walking around Cannon Beach, and exposed aggregates is the best option, given that we are dealing with a lot of cupping, rotting, just not very stable walkways. So we needed to find a material that maybe was perhaps better for this site. And then if you go to page 7, this is another view. There is most of these walkways. So this is connecting a parking lot to a building. There is a platform in between. There are 2 of the other walkways are entryways into to like 3 of the units. So these are not just recreational, although, obviously we'd love for people to use them to socialize. But these are areas that you're moving in between spaces from parking lots to homes. And I think our goal is to keep as many wooden elements as possible. If you, Trevor, if you go to page 8, I think it illustrates a little bit of the rendering. We'd like to keep all of the benches. The original architect, there's all of these great details of the benches, the pylons, the railings. And so our goal is to kind of keep all of these design elements as true as possible. None of the only thing we're seeking to change is just the material instead of wood using the exposed aggregate concrete. And we think that it fits in with, if you go to page 9, yeah, just that one. Thank you. So this is all of the common spaces in Breakers Point. And so we think that the exposed aggregate stays pretty true to the architect's materials choices to begin with, not just sidewalks, but entryways, the raised walkway on the lower right, that is also concrete on top. And then if you look on the upper left, that's the hot tub common space. It's also an exposed aggregate patio. And even the seating area around the hot tub is exposed aggregate. So we really feel like addressing, the section 1770 and 100A, that it fits in with the environment of Breakers Point, like the character of Breakers Point. And then if we go one slide down, then this is why we feel like it fits in with the village character of Cannon Beach. I wish I had a picture of Whale Park to go in there. It really is, this combination of wood and exposed aggregate is very common throughout Cannon Beach. And I would even say that it's a characteristic of the design. And so we feel that these examples kind of show that we're really trying to, we're not trying to get out of character. We really want to preserve the design in, in Breakers Point development. So, yeah, so that's for section A. Section B is the design harmonizes with and enhances the architectural design. And then they were also concerned about preserving, for section D, preserving survival and continuous maintenance of the landscape. And Breakers Point does have a contract with 7Ds to Genesis 7Ds to do general maintenance and to repair anything that is damaged during the construction process. Our goal is to have it be as minimal, like, we're the construction of the way that the boardwalks are constructed. We could go back to page 5. I think the design review board was concerned with the idea of grading, that we would be grading the site or damaging any of kind of the surrounding things. And so most of the boardwalks have this very interesting construction where the boards are at ground level. So the sod, it's, if you've been to the site, like all of the lower levels, it's just right, the sod's right there. Sometimes it's even growing onto the boards. And what we found is the structural boards, it's down into the ground, and there's just widespread rot in there. So what we wouldn't even need on the drawing below, the prescribed, so with the concrete is 4 inches of active aggregate and 4 inches of reinforced concrete on top of it. And so in all of the, we had the property manager review all of the areas, and that is on. Okay, that's on page 16. Thank you. So page 16, we were able to assess that there wouldn't need to be, we would have to add some fill in places, but we would have to have heavy equipment or that all of the construction and the forms that are built would be minimally invasive in that area. In addition, that we provide fencing and erosion control as needed. So, what was the entire design, some of these the sections that we were that failed are actually just the design themselves is not staying, it is staying exactly how it is. We have lighting fixtures already on site that are dark night, rated, that we're not changing any of that. And we feel that the exposed aggregate concrete will actually support the area as far as section J, the stabilization of the slope. Yeah, so I'm hopefully we've kind of shed a little bit more light on kind of what we would like to do in this area, and that we kind of address most of the residents. So there's 70 homeowners, and most of the residents, the majority of the residents are between 60 and 90 years old. So kind of this stability of being able to go in and out of their homes and into these buildings in a safe manner is very much driving kind of this change. It is something that the residents have asked for and are supportive of. And then also just in this particular, so this is just part of the walkways. We don't, there's other boardwalks in the development. We're just asking for these ones where we are on grade level and we're experiencing this level of rot and the exposure. We're just asking to be able to change those. So, yeah, is there any questions?
So is your plan to only change those and not eventually change the other?
So it doesn't make sense with the rest of the raised boardwalks, especially north of Fifth Street. They're off the ground, and there is rot in those areas too, but concrete is not the right material for that. So the reason why we're seeking to change that in this instance is just because it makes the most sense for that space. It's on the ones that are north of Fifth Street, you're dealing with, so all of these 16 inches is the highest point in any of the ones that we're talking about. But the ones that are north of Fifth Street it doesn't make sense to change those. So yeah, this is kind of one of, I think that there's a new property management there. Breakers Point HOA is starting to, really try to invest in the property to kind of bring up these levels. Visible rot is not something that's good for any residential unit, but especially not for such a large area. So this is one of kind of a lot of improvements, but it's one that I think needs to be done sooner than later. So. Yeah.
When you do go to replace the ones that you're not replacing now, who you replace them with?
That's still under discussion. So I think that some, there's the question of whether those will be replaced with wood or a product like a composite like Trex or something that's maybe would last longer, but that, yeah, that's phased out a ways. So, yeah, but I think it's really important to acknowledge that like coastal design, like that combination of wood, like wood is integral to the design process, you know, and so I think the things we don't want to dumb down the design, we don't want to take out that character. So whatever goes forward, we'll take that into, you know, account. And I think that's why they brought us in. So and I, sorry, totally backpedal, but I am a landscape designer. My husband's a structural designer. And so our like motive in all of this is to kind of move through some of these changes and preserve the design integrity, because I think it's really easily, you know, when you get into such big projects that a lot of that goes away, you know, and so I said, the combination of the wood and the aggregate is what brings the charm. And so that's not, you know, like we don't want like one without the other. If you took the railings down and you just had the aggregate, it might not have the same feel. And so the same thing with the Rose Boardwalk. So when you drive up the street and you see that, like we want that feel to remain the same. And so when we go into that project, whatever we do, that the feel is what we're going to try to preserve. So, yeah. Any other questions?
So have you been involved in this project from the very beginning or?
So not with this project. So actually we came on assessing decks that were the structural stabilities of the oceanfront decks. And so this project was already underway. And so I think that Tom called us into the project when it didn't pass design review. And so when we looked at kind of the information that was provided, we're like, oh, okay, you need to show what you know, we need the visuals in there to show why you think this will be a good material.
So the slide that you had, I think it was page 6, that showed all the existing things, that's what is already there.
This
Earlier.
slide, well, 6 has the
Page 3, maybe?
Or maybe, what's it, 3?
um,
That one, nope.
oh, 9. Is it 9?
Next.
Yes, yeah, so this is already there, and in fact, you know, this is kind of like at the area that I got brought into it, they had already started kind of presentation, so a lot of the pictures, there are even more areas. So the sidewalks have kind of, you know, you've got concrete that is created and exposed aggregate. So a lot of the stuff that you're seeing downtown in that landing and all these areas, this is somebody who's poured concrete and they've washed it off. So it's that pebbled feel. And so all of the common spaces, so like the area where the hot tub is, and if you go into the office area, the middle picture as you're getting in there, and even more so as you get, that's really somebody that's created the exposed aggregate feel. So that was intentional. In other areas, concrete becomes worn down and it just looks like that. So from a design perspective, I want it to look very intentional, like a pebbled walkway, you know, like it needs to look more like it's intentional rather than just a sidewalk. And that's something that we'll be working with to make sure that they do. So. Yeah. Any other questions?
All existing posts and railings are staying.
They're staying, some will need to be repaired. Yeah, some of the rod is in the pilings as well. And we've had an engineer visit, and one of, you know, some of the decorative pilings you can put a skewer right through. So those will need to be replaced, but they will be replaced with wood. They will be, the design will be the exact, you know, we'll bring the stairs, there's some settling with the wood. So the stairs will be brought up to code, like that they'll all be the same height. But other than that, we're really not seeking to change the design. Yeah, I think the wood is a really important part of it, all of the wood support.
The benches also will remain as wood.
The benches do need some repair, but I think if you look at the bench is gorgeous. The design of it, it's really well done. The fantastic thing about all of this that I think that it's a little bit hard to see in any of the pictures is that the bench is actually off of the platform. And so are all of the railings. So when we go to like dismantle it, none of that has to be touched. It really will build all the forms around it. And so that is a very, very lucky thing. That doesn't happen very often. It's very hard to preserve something when you have to take it out. And so, yeah, I think those are really unique and need to remain for sure. So they do need to be repaired, but they need to remain.
Any other questions? Are there presentations by proponents? Any other presentations?
We're going. I have a few more.
Okay, come on up.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can we move this? Thanks, Trevor.
Now, as noted on the last slide, Trevor, if you could hold that one up for me, that would be great.
Which one you want to go to?
It's the very last one in the whole packet, page 20, I think it is. There we go. Oh, there, right there. Okay, thank you. As noted on the last slide, Breakers Point Development is 44 years old and is in need of numerous upgrades that are estimated to cost $1.275 million. Look forward to working with the city to accomplish this investment in Cannon Beach over the next 5 years. We plan to use the services of local vendors as much as possible. We at Breakers Point and Louis Marie both believe the project for concrete walkways does reflect the village character of Cannon Beach. Other than Breakers Point, we could not find any examples of wooden walkways in the city. Concrete is also the best material for durability, low maintenance cost, safety, and total overall cost. We would appreciate your approval of this project. Also, Bill Degovich, who's with us tonight, is the chairman of the board of Breakers Point Homeowners Association, and he would like to make just a few brief comments. Thank you.
Hello,
Hi.
I'm Bill Dugovich. I'm Chair of Breakers Point Homeowners Association. I want to thank the council for hearing our appeal on this project. We appreciate this opportunity to bring additional information to you. As Tom mentioned, actually, I also want to publicly thank Tom Keljo for all the work he's done on this. He has worked on this for months and months and done extensive research, and we really appreciate it. As Tom mentioned, Breakers Point is in the process of making significant investments in our community. Upgrading our walkways to aggregate concrete is among these planned improvements. During our conversations with Breakers Point's residents, I'm pleased to say that they support this change, that aggregate concrete for our walkways. It brings it in concert with most of the other walkways in our complex, and it would be a very welcome improvement for us. I want to thank you again for hearing our appeal, and we are here and available to answer any additional questions you may have.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? Okay, so are there any other presentations by proponents?
He has his hand up. It's been up for a while, so I don't know.
Harvey, are you in the proponents or opponents? Harvey?
I guess I'm on the side of the opponent.
Okay, you're gonna get your turn in just a sec, okay?
Thank you.
Any proponent presentations? Okay, so are there presentations by opponents? In the audience, is there anyone? Okay, online, Harvey, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes. Since this is de novo, I'm on the design review board, but since this is de novo, I would request to be able to speak for the design review board.
Okay,
And the reason it's de novo is, as we understand it, is staff presented that the applicant had claimed that he was unable to respond to the design review board concerns once the board deliberations had begun. But in fact, really unusual, the board raised all their concerns and then they went back and reopened the hearing to give the applicant opportunity to respond. Now, we didn't have such a great presenter, but the applicant was able to respond, and after quite a lengthy question and answer period, the chair asked the applicant if he had anything further, and nothing came. So due process in that case was pretty well handled by the design review board. And then in the reapplication that we see here, the claim is here that the staff erroneously assured the applicant that the application was complete and required no additional information. In fact, the application was more than complete. It didn't have these beautiful pictures of exposed aggregate, but it had photos, renderings, drawings, extensive discussion, and we had an extensive discussion. How much information do you need to decide whether wood or concrete are more attractive for a boardwalk? So basically the entire thing was decided on whether it would be wood or concrete, and with modern wood materials and wood composite materials, you can, these lasted 40 years. It can certainly last a lot longer. So the new information argues that it's more aesthetically pleasing than wood and meets all DRB criteria. So I think if nothing else, it should be referred back to the DRB with the new presentation and the new presenter and information that DRB was not privy to.
thank you. Anita, are you? Your hand up? No? Oh, go ahead, Anita.
Unmute. Thank you, Trevor. Anita Duber, Box 694, Cannon Beach, member of Design Review Board. I just wanted to say that on our application, it states replace wooden sidewalks, and Design Review Board took that to mean a boardwalk, which is a promenade made of wooden boards, usually along a beach or shore, versus a sidewalk, which is a walk, especially a paved one, at the side of a street or road. We also took note that most of the cement paving was along the parking stalls. And lastly, I don't remember what Mr. Kidjo's response was to whether the widespread rot and structural deterioration had been cordoned off for safety reasons. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other presentations by opponents? Okay, is there a staff response?
No.
Does the appellant or proponents wish to make additional statements? This is your chance.
Okay. I have some discussion after Asian, and there were some questions. Then they just board had discussion, and I know that question came up. What amount of concrete is at Breakers Point currently? And one of the members said, well, they only have 100 feet. And that's totally incorrect. We have like 900 feet of exposed aggregate walkway already. So it's not like we haven't used this material before. I think it's a different story when we have basically almost as much. See, we have the exposed aggregate of 900 feet, and we're looking at changing 500 feet of wooden walkway to exposed aggregate. So there'll be more uniformity. And I really think that's a better look for Breakers Point. So that was one thing that we didn't have an opportunity to address, and I think that's a major point. And Bill, can you back to the issues that came up after we presented our case in the discussion?
So I think we have 1,350 feet of
Yeah.
aggregate.
Oh, is that okay?
And if,
1,350.
when you're done, I have a comment, just.
Okay. And again, I remember that was the major point.
Yeah. And I think, there's a couple different, points that the design review board brings up. One is just about the logistics, the hearing is. And then the other thing is, these are homeowners, these are volunteers that are coming in and doing this process, and it's not very easy to like step in and like, even for people that like do this for a living, there's kind of like a, putting together a presentation and really being able to communicate what the project is. And like Anita was saying, like, that when you go into something and you're like expecting that it's a boardwalk, you have this idea in your head, boardwalk, well, like defining it, this isn't on a beach, so I think that some of this is a technicality, but this is just an area in this, like, in this development that needs to be like, just to have a material that is relevant to this area. And so that it is kind of in this, like, there is access to the dunes, there's a trail that goes off of this, but there's also access to a home. It also goes between two, parking lots. So it's kind of a little bit hard to define. And I think that's what, Shane and I putting this presentation together tried to kind of like add more clarity to it. So it's understandable that the design review board would definitely have questions afterwards, So that's my comment to that. So thank you. Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Okay, so I'm going to close the public hearing and move to consideration. Anyone like to start the discussion?
I just think these criteria are so subjective. And it really just comes down to whether we think it's village character or not. I made a site visit. I also went to the Elk Creek complex. I went to the Shorewood complex. I went to the Sandcastle condominiums complex. They all use aggregate concrete. The only one that didn't was, I'm not sure what the little complex is down by Polomana Hall, built on a wetland, and they use a trucks boardwalk. So I just don't find this inconsistent with village character.
When I listened to the design review meeting, I got a picture of all of everything was being replaced, just listening to it. And then when I, walked up there, I had my phone with the map and realized that the walkways that most of the public see are still going to be the same. And But I did worry about, I mean, it was yesterday morning and it was a beautiful sunny day. Roofers were replacing a roof and, I mean, I could see the danger in the existing ones. And I fit right in that average age that someone mentioned tonight and worried about safety features.
Well, I think that the development itself, according to our information, has 1,300 linear feet of aggregate already.
Right.
So this is, twice as much they're asking for.
Anything, Brandon?
Just to echo Gary's point that the criteria are incredibly subjective. The vote was tied. And I mean, clearly the opinion was divided amongst the design review board.
Yeah. Anyone like to make a motion?
I'm gonna move to approve the requested landscape design and direct staff to prepare findings and support of approval by the mayor.
Second,
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Counselor Ogilvy,
yes.
Council President McCarthy,
Yes.
Counselor Hayes.
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Informational and other discussion items, questions on the monthly status report?
Good night, Steve.
See you, folks.
What if we have questions for you? Run, the other way. Any questions on the monthly status report? Okay, I have nothing to report on mayor communications. Any counselors have any?
I wanted to mention that I had a little road trip last weekend and went up to Port Townsend and kind of on a whim, I decided to take the long way around the Olympic Peninsula and stopped in Sequim at the Dungeness River Nature Center. And
Which
I
we
was,
talked about a lot in our.
yes, I was just astounded and inspired by what they've done there. It's so close to what we've talked about for the Nexus project. The room where they have the the nature interpretive things is about the size of that classroom that we have set aside, in addition to the 2 classrooms, which will remain for educational use. And I just amazed how much learning was going on there in that kind of space. Not only teaching people about the environment, but then tribal culture worked into a lot of it. So really they were blended so nicely. And then I walked outside and was equally amazed by some of the interpretive trail they have outside, which again is part of our plan. And I took some pictures. I took a lot of pictures actually. And one of them I had to do a double take on because it looked so much like our nature trail behind the conference center. And I know we had talked about how it was very much a similar thing, but it wasn't until I got there and saw it that it struck me how much that is a model for what we could accomplish. So just wanted to mention that. I don't know what to do with it, but I have a bunch of pictures and happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Gary.
And there were lots of people there?
I saw such great interactions. I mean, I saw kids that were learning things and adults talking to them. And I saw groups that were clearly community members that use that facility and that trail. And, you know, it's not like it was a big crowded thing. There were a half dozen people in there looking at the exhibits at a time, a lot more people using the outdoor areas. But yeah, I mean, that's what was inspiring to me was the amount of learning, all ages going on there.
Good, cool. Anybody else have any? Counselor stuff? Anything for good of the order? We do have a meeting next Tuesday, correct?
Correct. So we have a meeting next Tuesday. The packet will be out tomorrow. I need one thing from Heather's, from Ashley's office, and then I'll be ready to post that. We do have 2 dates on hold at the end of the month, October 29th and 30th. Right now, there's nothing earmarked for that. But we'd like to keep those on hold just in case. And I did send an email out earlier today that we didn't have any consensus on November evening dates, but should something come up, we will reach out to you guys about other times.
You said that 2 on hold are the 29th and 30th.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, anything else? Okay, thanks everyone, and the meeting's adjourned.
Thanks.